Multilinguals of Reddit, what is your "they didn't know I could understand their language" story? I speak French, but not completely fluently, although I am a French-American citizen. At my first girlfriend's house for the first time eating dinner with them. We go upstairs afterwards and her little sister, 2 grades below us, comes in as we are selecting a movie to watch. Well, they are Canadian and speak French at home a lot. The girl come in and starts talking about how I am cute and so forth to her sister. And then her sister banters back about how she agrees and then turns to me and asks me in French if I agree. I responded in French that I appreciated it. Cue bashful run up to her room. I lived off that high all year. My grandma could speak Arabic fluently. One time we are out and some women behind us in line are mocking her, calling her tacky, making fun of her bad dye job, etc. She turned around and said in Arabic, "I may be tacky, but at least I'm not stupid enough to assume nobody can understand me." They were so mortified. Working at a front desk with 2 coworkers who were related. They are speaking Spanish and one of them is talking about how she thinks I'm weird, act too professional all the time. She then asks, "Where is the stapler?" in Spanish. I picked up the stapler and without looking at her I extend my arm to pass it. She then asks if I speak Spanish and understood the whole conversation. I told her I speak fluent Italian and took Spanish classes in school. Another story. At the mall eating McDonald's when I was a teenager. Bunch of old Italian guys hanging around the food court and one asks, "How can he eat that shit?" in Italian, while looking at me. I look up and stare at him. I say, "Because I'm really hungry," in Italian. All his buddies started laughing. It's interesting how similar Italian and Spanish are. When I visited Rome a few years back I had a long conversation with my taxi driver in English, Spanish, and Italian. When we couldn't understand one language or find the words, we would switch. It was a crazy experience, but I look back on it fondly. I was waiting in line with my sister to take a boat tour in California and ahead of us was a group of 5 to 6 German-speaking people. The wait to board the boat was long and they got to talking. At first, it was about how nice the weather was, and then it turned to how annoying Americans can be, especially fat, dumb, tourist Americans. They cracked a couple of jokes having to do with American stereotypes. While this was happening, the line started moving and people started boarding the boat. But the group was too wrapped up in their own jokes to realize it. So I finally turned around to them, and in fluent German asked if they were part of the tour and if they were getting on the boat. They stopped dead in their joking tracks and said yes. So I replied that they had better get a move on, because the dumb, fat, American tourist standing right behind them wanted to get on the boat too. They all looked really embarrassed. Edit, thank you kind stranger. My first ever Reddit gold. You made my week. Thank you. Not me but my mom's friend. Her and her aunt were on a bus. A very sickly looking woman sat in front of them. They just started talking between themselves and said something along the lines of "that lady looks like death." She turned around and in Polish said, "I have cancer. Fuck. Kurwa." Edit, thank you Poland ball peeps for the gold. I'm Mexican but I studied my college degrees in the US. When I was studying abroad in Germany I only spoke English to my German classmates. 4 months in, one time we were waiting for a train at a station and a group of young South American tourists were being loud and just waiting beside us. I could understand every word they're saying, except for some slang, and they suddenly start talking shit about our group. I don't blame them at all, they were just bored at the train station trying to pass time, but I smile and look at them. One of the guys looks back and says in Spanish, "Do you not like what I'm saying, asshole?" I respond in Spanish. It's been a long time since someone insulted me in my language. The guy has a speechless look on his face and all his friends look at me. We have a laugh and soon after that both our groups sat together and had a nice time talking. Their English was good enough to have small chat with. I'm Japanese and live in Japan, but I went to college and law school in the States so I'd like to think I speak fluent English. It's always pretty funny when foreigners realize I speak English because there are so many bilinguals in Tokyo that you'd think they'd learn by now that talking shit in English isn't going to be as discreet as they think. Anyways, I have 2, one is a pretty feel-good one and the other is the typical talking shit ones. First is when I was drinking in a pretty small town in Niigata Prefecture. It's not known to get too many foreign visitors except in the winters when snowboard season picks up, but this was in the spring, so I was actually quite surprised when I walk into an izakaya and a foreign couple is sitting at one of the tables. I was alone, so they seat me at the counter and I order a couple of yakitori and a sake. As I was waiting, I could hear the couple behind talking about how none of the things that came were what they expected, and that it's so difficult since no one seemed to speak English. Now the izakaya we were at was like a hole in the wall, no pictures, and the menu was handwritten in Japanese, so I could understand how difficult it would have been. Anyways, I come over and to their delight I translate the menu for them and help them with their order. I ended up sitting and drinking with them that night and still message each other on Facebook. Second time isn't the same type of feel-good story. Anyways, I'm in a small city outside the 23 ward which has a pretty prominent language school, so there are a lot of foreigners in the area. I used to bartend when I was younger, and one of my coworkers from that time had opened a small barbecue restaurant in the area, so I decided to stop by and congratulate him. There was a couple of American guys, probably in their early 20s, just completely trashing this place, saying it's not authentic and that they did it better in Texas or wherever the fuck they were from. So after I had finished talking with my ex-coworker, I turn around and tell the two American men that if they wanted authentic barbecue they should just go back home to America, no one is subjecting you to this restaurant. I love Japan. I was stationed in Atsugi for a few years, learned some Japanese along the way. When we first check in, they give us these little phrase cards you can just carry in your pocket. So, one day, I was trying to get past some people on the train to get off and started saying "shiramasen" instead of "sumimasen." Or, I don't know, instead of "excuse me." I realized that as soon as I actually walked through the door and laughed at myself for quite some time. I just imagine the reverse of that, a Japanese guy fighting a crowded train car in New York, saying "I don't know" over and over. Awesome. Edit, fat finger phone typing. I don't know, you. Obviously, everyone else probably. Edit, apparently I inadvertently made a reference to a show I've never seen. Ain't that a real kick in the nads? I was in South America, and had made friends with a guy who was living in Paraguay, but was originally from Jordan. He spoke like 5 different languages. I asked him if he could help me out buying a cell phone. So we are shopping around, we stop at one place with 2 Middle Eastern guys selling cell phones. They say some things in Spanish, then some things in Arabic, and then my friend just says, "Let's go." I asked him what happened, and he said the guys said something in Arabic along the lines of, "Oh, we'll fuck these guys over." To which my friend responded, in Arabic, "Is that right? You're gonna fuck us over?" I thought it was really funny. Edit, if it was unclear, the translation was paraphrased. It was not about fucking but more, "These guys look like great candidates to rip off." And my friend saying, "Hey, they're gentlemen, not cool." Also, funny thing, is my friend said he had no idea why they would assume he didn't speak Arabic. You wanna fuck on me? I speak fluent Hungarian, and the thing about the language is it's so obscure that Hungarians will always assume when abroad that no one else can understand them. As you can imagine, this can backfire spectacularly. I grew up in the USA, and I've heard marital spats at Walmart that frankly never should have left the living room, serious goodbyes between lovers that were awkward to hear, all sorts of things like that. The best story in this genre though is my mother's, when she and my dad were enjoying their first Christmas together. They were in a small village in Austria in the early 80s, and for Christmas Eve when they went out to dinner there was a man in the restaurant with a dog sitting at the table, like guy putting food on the plate in front of his dog eating it, etc. My mom proceeded to spend a lot of time telling my dad how disgusting and unsanitary this was of the guy to do, etc. And when guy and dog finished their meal he just went up to my parents' table, said "Kelams Karaksani unnepeket kivanak," and left. In Hungarian, this is the polite way of telling a stranger you wish them a Merry Christmas. Imagine if the dog said something in Hungarian too, smiley face. I'm an American but my dad and his family are from Switzerland, so I've had to learn some languages other than English if I want to keep up with my grandparents' and cousins' conversations. I've got pretty poor with my French but good enough that I can still listen in on other people's conversations. But, I was never expecting to be able to use this skill or surprise anybody's secret conversation since I live in Texas. But lo and behold, one day I was out shopping with a couple friends, one who also speaks French and German. I'm disabled from an accident that deformed my left leg. It's pretty obvious and people do tend to stare, but that doesn't mean I'm going to go around covered up in pants all the time. It's too damn hot here. At lunch we overheard a mom talking with her son at the table next to us. The boy was about 7 or 8 years old and was totally fixated on my leg and the leg brace I wear, just typical kid curiosity, and I was probably one of the few disabled people he's seen. The little boy was asking his mom what happened, why that girl's leg all messed up, why does she have to wear that brace? The mom then starts talking shit about Americans and tells the boy I probably lost it in the war while killing a bunch of helpless people. She then goes on about how Americans are unhealthy, dumb, and should stay out of other people's business. My friend had gotten up to go to the restroom and came back and just casually asked how the meal was, in French. I answered her back and the mom looked mortified as it dawned on her I had heard the whole conversation. I wasn't rude, but I did take the opportunity to tell the boy, who was legitimately concerned. I explained that I was injured in an accident but I'd be okay. So, I got to surprise someone being a jerk and got to show a little boy that disabled people are just regular people, so win-win. Edit, thanks for the gold, kind stranger. I try to give us a good name and keep it classy, smiley face. Not me, my grandpa. And I apologize if this is among the more morbid stories in the thread. My grandparents were Romanian Jews living in Europe during World War II. Post-war they fled to America via Italy, and lived in Italy for several years. Now, they largely spoke Romanian, but my grandpa could understand Italian as well. My grandma had a variety of serious health issues throughout her life, and at this point, they were probably in their 20s, she had to be taken to an Italian doctor. Thinking they spoke only Romanian, the doctor told his nurse, about my grandma, she's a Jew, let her die. Well, my grandpa understood this and was able to seek out a more underground doctor to save my grandma's life. She lived into her 80s. Wow, fuck that guy. I was touring some old dungeons in Germany. It was just me and my family, and an older German couple. They were kinda dissing my country the whole time, thinking we couldn't understand them. We got to a room where they locked people by their feet and the German man said to his wife and the tour guide in German, "This is where you should go if you can't speak German." I turned to him and in perfect German replied, "Then it's a good thing I can speak German." The look on his face was priceless. I sometimes get the idea Germans think that everyone in the world can understand German. Dutch guy in Germany asking a local, tries to speak his best German and lots of pointing and gesturing. German guy in Netherlands asking a local, starts speaking in German, gets mad when not understood. I speak Dari, one of the 2 official language of Afghanistan. On a trip I overheard 2 Afghans. One was telling the other to be careful, Detroit was more dangerous than Kabul. That awkward moment when people living in the Middle East even know about fucking Detroit, man. I'm not the multilingual in this story, but this is a story as my friend told it to me. My friend's mom is from Vietnam, but her dad is from the States and is white. For whatever reason my friend looks like a typical white brunette girl, but speaks Vietnamese with her mom's side of the family all the time and is fluent. So, one day we got off school. We went to a Catholic high school and walked over to a nail salon a few blocks away to get our nails done. The ladies running the salon were speaking Vietnamese, and according to my friend were talking shit on us the entire time we were there. They were talking about how rich we must be and how these little white girls can probably sleep with whoever they want and get ahead. I was completely oblivious to this the entire time, but as we were about to pay, my friend told me all the terrible things they were saying, so we didn't tip them. We started to leave and one of the workers said something about how the rich white girls couldn't even afford to tip. My friend turned around and yelled at them in perfect Vietnamese about how if they expect their business to stay open, they shouldn't talk badly about their customers in front of their face. I didn't understand a word of it, but the workers were in utter shock and sheepishly apologized to the both of us. TLDR, the ladies at the nail salon are definitely talking shit about you in front of your face. I was at a party a couple years ago and there were these 2 really good-looking Asian girls. I started chatting one of them up and we seemed to be having a good time. Anyways, the party keeps going and we split momentarily. I grabbed myself a beer and her friend came over to talk to her. I hear them speaking in Korean and the one I was talking to was explaining how she thought I was really cute. Her friend starts talking in Korean. That's not a good idea. Don't go after him. He's not that good looking. He just wants to sleep with you. Blah blah blah, the usual protecting your friend's line, which I have no problems with minus the not good looking part. Now at this point, I'm okay with that and I just try to enjoy the party. However, later on I overhear the same girl again speaking in Korean how much of a lowlife I am and I'm a horrible person with some added vulgar swear words. Remember, this person has never met me before today. She was basically describing me as if I was the enemy of all women, how I live in poverty, and trying to label me with as many negative things she could think of. Obviously the girl I was talking to is listening to her friend and is clearly no longer looking at me with interest. Before leaving the party I go over to them and I try asking for her number, just for shits, which she politely refuses to. I turn to her friend and speak in perfect Korean. Thanks so much for telling your friend about me. It was really nice getting to know you and I'm glad you know so much about me, even though we've never met before. Look on her face was worth not getting laid. I think. I have a somewhat similar experience. This happened in Korea 3 days ago. I'm a Filipino who looks very much Korean. I was in Petite France where 2 Filipino girls mistook me for a Korean. They asked me if I can take their picture and take a selfie with them after. I was listening to them talking about how good looking I am. I couldn't help it that I let out a chuckle. They stared at me as if wondering if I understood them. I then spoke in our language that I'm also Filipino and totally understood everything they said. We just laughed about it and now I have 2 new friends. When I lived in China I went to an international school so would frequently use English with my classmates even though I understood Chinese. One day, I was walking with a classmate when I overheard these old Chinese ladies talking about how it was obvious we were American because we were so fat. We were both average-sized, neither fat nor thin. My friend doesn't understand Chinese so I decided to ignore it since we were just passing by. Later, we were at the fruit stand and the ladies come around looking to buy fruit. I'm standing in front of whatever they were trying to look at and any time they'd try to move around me I'd shift subtly so they couldn't. I hear one of them start huffing about how she can't get by, and in Chinese I respond with, I'd move, but as a fat American it'd do no good. The ladies just looked at me then started laughing and were like, ooh, the fat American has good Chinese. No shame. Dude, if there's anything I've learned in my life it's that old Chinese ladies give 0 fucks. I'm surprised she didn't then advise you in Chinese to go on a diet. How old Asian women view everyone in the world. 1. Here, eat a lot of food, you're fat I know you can finish it. 2. You're so skinny. You need more food, here, eat a lot. Source, am Asian. Happened to me actually, really funny in hindsight. I was in Poland for a holiday with 2 friends. We went outside a bar to smoke, and I said to my friend, in Dutch, those girls over there are really hot, should we ask them to join us? One of the girls turned around, and said in almost perfect Dutch, you won't find out, if you don't ask. My friends laughing and me standing there flabbergasted. Canadian, with an English group in a very French town in northern Quebec. Waitress shit-talked us, being Anglophones, the whole night to her coworkers and the bartender. She was doing it fairly loudly, which I found weird in a bilingual country. When she came around with the bills I put on my best Quebecois accent and said in French, I hope you aren't expecting a tip from these stupid English people, because you sure as hell aren't getting one, and told the group we were leaving. She chased us out of the restaurant screaming at us in French. I flipped her off and we left. Thanks for watching our video. If you like it, please smash the subscribe and like button to support the channel, so that we can create more quality content in the future.